Nerd Reactor, roll out.
What's up, Reactorites? John here, and yes, it's time to talk about Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones. I saw this when it came out on Netflix, and you know, I was really entertained. I love that he touched upon all types of subjects, especially with now, with 2019, and how people can be really sensitive these days. And with that, it was pretty much like a funny fu to everyone for just not being able to take a joke, and especially when the way he opens with his special, he was doing an impression of like, oh, if I find something that's even wrong about you, or anything in like a year or in the future, I'm taking you out. And so he was like, screw you to everyone, to like the whole audience, like his audience, just because of the whole cancel culture. It's really crazy right now. But I love the special. I thought it was really funny, and like he's one of the few comedians that can really touch on a lot of different sensitive topics and still make it funny and still make you think. Anyway, I wasn't even going to do a review about this, just because I saw it, I was enjoying it, but I was like, I'm not sure if it's the right thing for this channel. But then I saw a video by Popcorn Planet just talking about Dave Chappelle, just talking about the stuff, just because I was watching another video and it just led me down a different path. So you're watching a YouTube video and then it recommends to you something else, or you're checking out the whole playlist. So I was just doing that, and there was a comment that mentioned how the show only got like 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, 0%? I was like, I really enjoyed this special, and you're telling me not one of the critics enjoyed this. And luckily, I am an approved Rotten Tomatoes critic, so I was like, okay, I have to do a review. I have to like mention or just say that I enjoyed this. I want to do a review about this now, because I feel like it's kind of slanted on one side and there's like no really balance on the other side. But yeah, here it is, and it's Dave Chappelle. He's always been pushing the boundaries of comedy, and he just the stuff that he does, it's always about touching buttons. He's a comedian. That's what comedians do. But yeah, they're here to make jokes, but then they're also here to just push the limits of what they can do. And with a lot of the comedians, they're not out to attack people. They're just out there to be funny. And if that means just poking fun of all types of groups, then so be it. And now we have different types of people where you can't even make fun of certain types of groups anymore, just because they'll feel like it's like an attack on them. And so it's like, what's the limit? What can you do? Why can't you make fun of this person, but you can make fun of this person? And so there's a thing with I guess the term called punching up and punching down. Punching up is when you make fun of someone has a higher authority, or is making a lot more money than you. And punching down is when you're making fun of someone less fortunate than you, or poor people, or people that are hungry, or people with crappy living situation, or a certain group like a race, ethnicity, etc. And so I'm thinking that's where it's coming from with the people that don't want certain groups to be made fun of because they're like the victims. But yeah, for me, as you can tell, I'm Asian. If you're making an Asian joke and it's funny, I'm gonna laugh at it. Just as long as it's not done in a very harmful way, or you're really trying to attack the person, or you're really hating on the person. But if it's like lighthearted, jokes, then I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna have fun with it. But we live in a time right now where you can't really do that. But Dave Chappelle's special, Sticks and Stones, he's still pushing the boundaries, and even he made jokes about like Asians, like he's making jokes about LGBTQs, especially with the transgender. He talks about how transgender people don't like his jokes. He says that there's just a lot of material for transgender jokes, and he kind of related to how there would be if he was like an Asian guy stuck in a black guy's body, and then he did the Asian accent, typical Asian accent, and so it's kind of like, it makes you think, like, oh yeah, what if you feel like you're somebody else inside the body? And I laughed, I enjoyed it. And there are a lot of just different stuff that Dave Chappelle just talks about. So he makes fun of everything. He makes fun of just the Michael Jackson documentary. But even Dave Chappelle, he talks about the whole Kevin Hart situation, on how he had one tweet. It was a joke, and he got annihilated from it, so he wasn't able to host the Oscars. But yeah, Dave Chappelle just made fun of the whole situation, and how people are just out to just get anyone now with this cancel culture, this call out culture, where you make one mistake and you're done for. You're screwed. You're fired. Everything falls apart. All types of subjects. He goes after it all, even suicide with Anthony Bourdain. With Anthony Bourdain living the life, he gets to travel around. He gets to eat all kinds of delicious food. But even then, he was, depressed and all that. So Dave Chappelle made a joke about how he knows a guy that has a crappy living situation, really crappy, and somehow he's still living. He's still trying to survive, and he hasn't thought about committing suicide. So it just, these jokes, it's like they make you think, and sometimes they can be really edgy, but Dave Chappelle is able to do it in a way where you're thinking about it, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way, and then you're laughing. So does that make you bad? Are you a bad person for laughing? And for me, it's I really don't think so. It's these are jokes, and it doesn't really mean that you support something or you're hating on something. It's just a joke about that particular subject matter. Oh yeah, so going back to Dave Chappelle special on how people are up and crazy about the call-out culture, and anything you do is always under a microscope, especially with what you do back then and what you do in the future. So just imagine in the future, it's just what I'm saying now, or what everyone's saying now, is going to be completely different, and people's going to be, oh man, I can't believe he said that. That's terrible. Dave Chappelle, he's a comedian, and he even talks about how it's don't even be offended by this. You clicked on my picture, my image on Netflix. So what do you expect? This is what Dave Chappelle does. He pushes the boundaries. He's willing to do a lot of things that other comedians won't. He talks about the really, really, really controversial topics, and others won't even touch about that. So with these topics, he's able to do them in a very funny way, hilarious ways. He does this with ease. It's like a joke. He probably thinks of it up, writes it on a napkin. He comes back to it, and he has a full-on dialogue of jokes, just from little scribbles. So this Dave Chappelle is, I believe, one of the funniest comedians out there. And with the Sticks and Stones special, he's back at it. And I'm always grateful for these shows, because it's always touching on these topics. Even he mentioned in the special, it's this is why he doesn't do a lot of comedy shows anymore, because everyone just sucks now. And I'm gonna have to agree with him on there. It's just jokes, and no one can really take jokes anymore. People are getting more sensitive in the future, and I think that there shouldn't be a line of who you can make a joke about. Because in the end, these are jokes, and they're not malicious. They're all in good fun, and I feel everyone's made jokes about people before, and some jokes might be hey, you shouldn't be doing that. But the thing is, people are saying it. They're not under a microscope like comedians are. Comedians are under a huge microscope, so everything they say, let's say a tweet, or you're doing a special, or they're at a comedy show, it's out there. People can record or whatnot. But yeah, I think that people, we are flawed. We can't be 100% perfect. Let's say you do a really crappy thing, as long as you apologize. Depends on what it is. As long as you apologize for it, it should be fine. But now people are oh, this person did this, this person did that. And so it's a lot of finger pointing. Everyone's just out to get each other, and I kind of miss that whole discussion thing where people just talk it out. But no, that's the thing with social media. Social media, it's a very powerful tool where people can just do the whole thing where they mobilize a mob, attack a person, and they can just be ruined just for that. A good example is James Gunn with this tweet. He makes jokes. And back then, right now it's probably like, okay, this is too bad. Yeah, but James Gunn, yeah, those jokes, they're a little bit, yeah, they're pretty edgy, especially when you're talking about that stuff with pedophilia and rape jokes, especially on Twitter, where it can be taken out of context. So he probably shouldn't have done that, but he, after proving himself, after apologizing, so he was finally able to go back to Disney to like work on the next Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. With this Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones special, I had a ball. I was laughing. There were some parts where I was like, okay, this is like, I don't know if he's going too far, but it was kind of funny, and I laughed, and I'll probably feel guilty about it, but it's jokes. He's a comedian. That's what they do. They touch on all types of subjects, and they're going to make you think and, create discussion. And I think this is great. We're talking about this show right now. And, there are people that I think with comedy, especially now, it's very different now because you have a lot of the, I believe you have people that just enjoy it. And then you got the very few that are like very outspoken about it. And they're like, hey, what's up with this? We should skip it. Or, if you watch this, you're supporting bashing on all types of different groups. I'm like, no, I don't even see this as bashing. It's just poking fun and, just laughing about it. And also in a way where, you still kind of think like, oh, this is kind of an interesting way to look at that from another different angle. And I think he's great for comedy right now, just with everything that's going on. And I'm glad that he has a platform on Netflix to do this on, and plus he's loaded, so he doesn't have to worry about anything like being fired from the Oscars and all that. He's on a whole different level, and I want to see more specials from Dave Chappelle. And I do miss the days of the Chappelle Show, because those are like one of the recent or comedy shows that is really laugh out loud funny. And I miss those times. Those were like really, really good times of, comedy that really has you busting out with laughter, and you're crying, you're crying. And now with, jokes and all that, people are afraid to make certain types of jokes or else they're going to offend a certain group. And I feel like it's tamer now. It's just this whole culture right now where it's pretty much just wrong to do anything. And I'm pretty sure in the future, you're not even allowed to talk. You can't even breathe, because if you breathe, you're gonna be very controversial. You're gonna be very offensive to someone. It's like, you breathing in my spot? You better not be breathing in my spot. You better get away, or else. I was like, okay. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you thought about the Dave Chappelle special, Sticks and Stones, on the comments below. And with that, like the video, subscribe. With that said, I'm John, and I'll see you guys next time.